He's asking about the feeling of compassion. And when do you feel that? How do you cultivate that feeling of compassion? And he said he's read many things about Gandhi and Martin Luther King and others. It seems to me that the quieter your mind, the more you penetrate into the forms of the universe. And the more you penetrate into the forms of the universe, the more the nature of the condition of suffering in the world becomes something that you're not pushing against, but that you're holding. You're just holding it. You're able to keep your eyes open in the way with the way things are, just through cultivating a quiet mind, just seeing it all, not reacting to it, just seeing it. Don't get busy being good too soon. Just quiet down and let it in. And what happens out of the letting it in is that something rises up in you that responds to it, not reacts to it, but responds to it. And that comes out of the fact that the nature, if the suffering is their suffering, then your act to help their suffering turns out to be kindness, pity, righteousness, all those nice psychodynamic things. Because it's a me and a them. It's a subject and an object. It's two people. It's relational. On the other hand, if you have emptied enough so that there is no them and us, there's just what is, fully, then whose suffering is it anyway? You know, is it, what am I going to say? We're all one, but it's your suffering? And you can't, I'm not talking about intellectually, I'm talking about as you quiet and empty and open, the suffering is the suffering. And then you are aware that out of that feeling of the suffering comes out of your being the response of the compassion. And it's a lot like if you have a thorn in one finger and you take another thorn and you dig the thorn out with a finger and you throw both thorns away. This hand doesn't have to say to this hand, thank you, because they're both part of one thing. And so you begin to see that your compassion, was your right hand compassionate to your left hand? And in a way, that's when compassion is really operating, when it's really nothing at all, that you are not compassionate, you are compassion. It's the thing, you died into compassion. You are what responds to suffering. And there's no big deal, and people say, thank you, and it's like bizarre, I'll tell them if I see them. It has nothing to do with you. It's nothing personal in it. It's just phenomena happening. Now, how do you get near there? You just keep staying open, working with it, asking the question you're asking, practice, hang out, open yourself to people that are going through stuff. See how much you get lost in this stuff, so you're helping them dig their hole deeper, and how much you're staying clear in the process so they can run it by you and not get trapped anymore by it and possibly come up for air. And you'll begin to understand compassion at deeper and deeper levels. Because at first, compassion is if somebody's hungry, you give them food. But you can give them food in a way that disempowers them, even as you're giving them the food. We all know how to do that. Aren't I good for giving you the food? And then the next level is, who's giving who what food? It's just a phenomena are happening. Food's being given. I think the true compassion resides in that line, one does nothing and nothing is left undone. I think that's a key line. One does nothing and nothing is left. We're talking about two planes of consciousness now. That's compassion. That's where compassion comes into play. In Buddhism, they say, out of emptiness arises compassion. That's been a practice for me now for several years.